Hey, welcome everyone. Uncovering growth in life's unscripted moments means learning to find strength, resilience, and personal development in situations where there is no clear plan or structure. Often we experience the most growth when life doesn't go as expected, whether it's a sudden change, a challenge, or an opportunity that comes out of nowhere. In these moments of uncertainty, we're pushed to adapt, reflect, and sometimes rethink our approach to life. By stepping outside of the rigid frameworks we often set ourselves in, we become more open to new possibilities and deeper insights. It's about embracing the unpredictability of life, using it as a catalyst for self-discovery and transformation rather than resisting it. Welcome to another episode of The Other Side of Addiction. I am your host, Al Richards, and today with my good buddy, SL Manny Boy, we are going to be talking about personality and character. And I really love this topic. Now, Manny, my gosh, buddy, again, thank you for taking time out of your day. I know you're a busy guy. You got a lot of stuff going on. You're giving a ton of your time back to the community. So, man, taking time out of your morning to be with me today just means a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's part of, being in recovery is being of service to others. How can I help you? I know early recovery is for all of us, it's very selfish. It's me, 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 me. I need this, I need this, I need this, and I need this. But in order to maintain long-term recovery, we really have to be of service for others. When I'm struggling with something, I just focus on what can I do to help somebody else. In that moment, it takes me away from what I'm dealing with, and help. And I get internal validation from the service that I can be of to others. And so, yeah, for sure. I love what you're doing, brother. I support it. And I'm here to help in any way I can.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate it. And with just to piggyback off what you just said, you know, um, I went and spoke at Red Barn this week.
Shout out to Red Barn. Yeah.
And
Everything's
yeah,
good over
shout out
there.
to the boys over there. I love those guys. And I wasn't expected to speak. I was there to support a friend who I connected with Justin over there and to do a talk. And she didn't realize she could have a PowerPoint. So she's like, Al, I'm really uncomfortable doing this. Would you jump in? And when I opened it up to Q&A at the end, a gentleman asked me how much this podcast has helped me grow. And I'm like, that is such a really good question. I says, man, and I pointed all the guys out sitting in front of me. There was 80 plus guys out there. And I'm like, you guys are the ones, people like yourselves who have been guests on my show has helped me grow because I got to learn from your experiences. You know, uh, Maybe my darkness definitely wasn't as dark as a lot of those individuals that was there that I was speaking in front of. But by golly, their journey, man, opens my eyes and it makes me a stronger individual because I see what they've gone through and what they've accomplished. And it's like, see, it's possible. It doesn't matter what happens in life, it's possible, which takes us down to what the topic is today, with personality and character. And I don't know, what are your thoughts, man? I think it takes a ton of character to be able to open your eyes, decide to drop the damn shovel, and completely do a 360 on changing your life.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. For me, I think the most impact that I've gotten from any topic in recovery has been to focus on working on my character. I heard one time character will take you places that money can't. And it's absolutely true. I think to begin, we need to really define what character is. And so
Okay.
the definition of character is commitment to a set of values without compromise. And so we break that down: commitment to a set of values. What are values? Those are things that we value. They're not, it's not that's not a very difficult one to grasp. But they're more like, I value honesty. I value openness. I value willingness. I value responsibility. I value respect. I value loyalty. I value honor. I value humility. I value gratitude. I value accountability. Some of these things that when you meet somebody with character and they have those things, you're like, ooh, I like that person. I want to hang out with that person. That's character. So commitment to a set of values without compromise, meaning we're not willing to jeopardize who we are and not have that character, the honesty, the commitment, all those things. It's I won't compromise who I am. The conversations that I have, the way that I speak, the way that I connect with people, it doesn't change depending on what room I'm in or who comes around. It's that rigorous authenticity. I am who I am 100%. Character comes down to like another word for character, principles, standards, morals. Those are all, they all mean the same thing. You know, they're like laws. The principle of gravity is the same as the law of gravity. What goes up must come down, right? I take this pen and I drop it. It doesn't matter unless I come in there and stop that. That's happening. The principle of gravity, the character of gravity is happening. It doesn't change depending on who comes around or what room you're in. So that's for me, that's what it is. And then personality. Personality is what we meet, is what we get when we meet somebody. We meet their personality. That's the person that they want us to see. Are they funny? Are they outgoing? Do they show care and concern and things like that? But what I've found is that it usually takes around 2 to 3 weeks of consistently hanging around somebody before you really start understanding if their character is what they're presenting. Are they really honest in their dealings? You know, are they really impeccable with their word? Do they really follow through with commitments? Then you start seeing that character. I like to talk to people when we talk about character about, personality may get you that job interview, and that personality may even get you the job, but the character that you have is going to keep you in that position. Because if you're lazy, are you going to keep that job for very long? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Right? Like, but hold on, you got the job because you were outgoing and funny and you connected well. But wait, you're outgoing and funny. That doesn't trump the laziness or the not being committed or not following through. Like, nah, like they're gonna let you go because the personality will only get you so far, and character is gonna take you places that money can't. None of us were born and came into this world, and the doctor slapped us on the bottom and said, "Okay, here's some character." We had to learn those things.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And what are your thoughts about your character being changed? We were talking about jobs. I have seen in my lifetime, in my world of work, and also being promoted and watching other people be promoted, how quickly character can change.
Well, I know there's three things that will test a person's character. There's three things that 100% of the time will tell you about a person's character. And one is power or authority. You put a person in a position of power or authority, and you're going to see exactly what their character is. Are they helpful or are they hurtful? Do they try and control you? Do they use it to help? Like, are they honest, open, willing, respectful, responsible, accountable, grateful, humble? All those things. You're going to see it pretty fast.
Yes.
Another one is money. You give a person money and you're going to see. That's why you say, like, I'll give a person $20, and if they pay me back, they got good character. If they don't, well, it only cost me $20.
Yeah.
What do they do with their money? Again, do they help people? Do they hold it over people's head? Do they use it to control people? Um, and then the third one is romance, intimacy, access to sex. When you connect with somebody intimately, um, you'll find out pretty fast if their character is good or not. In the recovery community, you hear this a lot, like in a lot of the meetings, and stuff like that. You hear a lot of people say, I should have never messed with that person. I should have listened to everybody else when they said that he wasn't worth anything or she wasn't, like, well, yeah, because those people saw that person's character
Yeah.
way before you fell in love with personality. In our past journeys, especially us in long term recovery through our addiction and all that, if you really think about it, we fell for personality time and time again. We fell in love with personalities.
Yeah.
And then the character came out and we became hurt. And then, as being people that were hurt, we started hurting people back, because that's what hurt people do. And it just became a cycle of destruction that spiral to crash. And for some of us, that crash is maybe overdosing and dying, being ripped away into the prison system, being ripped away from our children, being like abandoning our children, um, heartbreak, self-harm. It gets really dangerous for a lot of us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We all take things in different ways, right? What one person can handle, the other person handles it in a totally different way. And I think a lot of it does have to do with like our upbringing and what we see, which is no fault of our parents or anything like that. I'm not trying to put blame on anywhere. It's just what we've been around. It's what we think life is. You know,
Right.
I had somebody tell me once years ago, we were talking about money. And this person said this famous saying that we've all heard, money is the root of all evil. And it's like, no, it's the individual. It's not the money. Because there are people out there that make a shitload of money that do a lot of good with it. So how
Right.
is that the root of all evil? And again, it goes back to change, right? We can allow so many things to change us, so many things to change us. And I think it's a learning process. At least it's been that way for me. Yeah, and I'm just taking a huge guess that's what it's been for you, right? We've had to go through our troubles and our turbulations and start seeing things happening to us and start realizing, is this the direction I want to go? Is this the person who I want to become? How do I change that? And we've been able, with God's help, at least for me, to be able to change some of that character, especially someone who was known as a liar and a manipulator. I didn't want to go down with my history being called that or having that label put over my head. And
Right.
it takes that time to learn how to control and learn how to change things and to be that different person. Because again, I think character is huge. I mean, I've met some people that have pulled the wool over my eyes for a little while, and I'm thinking, my gosh, this person is freaking amazing. But like you said, as time starts going, you start seeing little signs. And then pretty soon, man, it slaps you right in the face, and you're going, okay, whoa up here. It's time I step away from this one right here because I don't want to be dragged right back into that same thing because
I,
it's easy to do.
I agree. Well, the struggle is beautiful. It doesn't feel beautiful when you're in it, of course, but like the lessons that come out of it, yeah, that's beautiful. And it takes going through all those things for me to really build up myself to be what I feel like is a good judge of character. Here's one thing that I've done. I feel like I've done this to survive because I've been in and out of prison since I was 16, 17 years old up until, not that long ago, 5 years ago. And so I've had to be a good judge of character. My life depended on it in some instances, my safety, all those things, the safety of those around me. And in the streets, the same thing, the safety of those around me, my safety, just to make it through another day. And so I had to become a good judge of character, and I think a lot of us that have experienced addiction, homelessness, incarceration, we become pretty good judges of character. It's 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 it'll tell you a person's character defect if you just pay attention. The personality is what we display on the outside. True character, you find that on the inside.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of times, people are guarded of their character. They don't want to put that out there too much because they've been taken advantage of. They've been hurt. There's pain there. There's trauma there. There's undealt with problems and issues that, a lot of these things are their learned behaviors. A lot of these character defects, because I don't think any infant was brought into this world and they just had bad character. That's that what you were talking about, those experiences and the environment, those that are around, we start picking up on those things. We start learning those things. And then we start displaying those things. And once we get a taste of our needs getting met, when we display those, we lean more into that because we're finding some kind of success there. And so we will continue to lean into what is successful for us because we anything that doesn't serve us, we no longer will do. There's so many behaviors that I used to be a part of in my past that they no longer serve me, so I don't do those anymore.
Yeah.
And I do that which is like service work is one for me. Showing up when I say I'm going to show up. My word has value, all those things that I like to open up with, and that's where I'm at today. My
Yeah.
life is I surround myself with people with good character.
And I'm with you on that, right? It's My good friend Joe Valentine and I was talking a couple months ago, and
Shout out to Joe.
yeah, shout out to Joe, and he was just on your show not too long ago, and just an amazing guy. And we were talking about pretty much the same thing. And he's like, I am very, very careful who I allow inside my bubble because he wants to make sure he protects himself. He doesn't want to fall back, right? Because he's lived almost the same type of life that you have. He's been in prison, ran the streets in Ogden, just caused havoc in the community for years and years. And he just finally decided to drop the shovel one day and change his life and do something different. And he's very, very careful who he allows inside his bubble. And I think so many of us out there allow other individuals in our life that we know are not healthy for us because of that wanting to be liked, right? And not wanting to feel like you're a butthead or anything like that. However, for the listeners who are hearing this for the first time and still trying to put it together, seriously, it is very important to choose who you allow into your life. Allow those, like what you said, who are highly motivated, who have accountability, who um, integrity, have that integrity. Because I'm sure you've heard this, is that we become who our top five friends are, right? So if we hang around people that don't have accountability and integrity, we end up being just like them, and it drags us in without us even knowing. I mean, have you seen that same thing?
Yeah, well, it's that show me your friends, I'll show you your future. And like one thing that I know is I do not hang out with the people that I used to hang out with. And and the people I do hang out with now, I have way more in common with them now. I have, a healthy home, I have a healthy family, I have a healthy relationship. I'm a father, I'm a provider, I'm all those things. But I surround myself with people like that. Here in my community where I live, I walk out of my house. If I was to walk down the street, people in the neighborhood that are outside, hey Manny, we go to church together and all these things. I'm so on the other side of the scale as I was 10 years ago. And it really started with that being a good judge of character and surrounding myself with people that had character that I wanted. They
Yeah.
have things that I want. When you get in front of a guru, it's not time to talk, that's time to listen. I'm taking notes. I want to know these things. Like I want you have something that I want, and I'm asking you for that knowledge because I'm hungry. Please feed me.
Yeah, absolutely. And gosh, what, Manny, we've known each other for, I guess, maybe 3 years now,
Yeah.
something like that, 3.5, possibly 4 years. And I just have to say, man, I got to tip my hat off to you, brother, seriously, because I have seen such a huge change in your character since we've known each other. From the first time that you came on as a guest on the show when I had the studio, which was probably 2.5 years ago, 2 years ago. I mean, it's been a while. And to see who you are today and to see, man, just the excitement. Every time that I talk to you or run into you at the gym, just that enthusiasm and the excitement that I see in your being every single time we connect or meet, man, is just it's impressive to me and something that I look up to also because it's like, man, this dude's freaking got it. He's got it and he's heading in the right direction and it's the direction he wants to go. And that means a lot to me of having someone like yourself in my life that I get to look up to.
Thank you, brother. That really means a lot to me. I'm starting to hear that a lot more now, and it's coming from unexpected directions. So again, really thank you for that because it means so much to me. Sometimes to tell you the truth, I don't know how to deal with those compliments at first because I feel like I've had to be guarded for so long. Teenager going into prison, all the trauma from mother not being around, foster care systems. It's just a little backstory for the listeners that don't know my story is um, there's a lot of incarceration there. There's a lot of running the streets. There's a lot of codependency. There's a lot of toxicity. Um, and then I finally had that wake up call where enough was enough. I abandoned my daughter with her grandmother, and um, became the father that would show up with arms full of gifts because I felt so guilty. I would run away after an hour of hanging out with her, right back to the toxicity, and it was just a endless cycle of crash and burn. It was I parole from prison and then get out, do the same things, toxic relationships, drug use, codependency, get picked up, go back, in and out, in and out, in and out. Final count for me before I finally pulled my head out of my rear is 11 times in prison. You know, crashing a vehicle, waking up in the hospital, passing out again, waking up in the backseat of my parole officer's vehicle, being driven back to prison for the 11th time, having that God moment for me, that aha moment where I feel like my higher power, I choose to refer to as God, stepped in and said, enough is enough. And I really recognized in that moment, it was all on me. I was the cause of all my problems. It wasn't my mom who was never there growing up. It wasn't the foster care system, wasn't the juvenile justice system, it wasn't the toxic relationships, it wasn't my parole officer. It was none of those things. It was me. It was me. I literally had done it to myself again and again and again. And now I was at a point where I was abandoning my daughter, who was 3 years old at the time and could talk. And I get back to prison, calling her on the phone, and she's saying, "Where are you at?" And I had no answer for that she would understand. And it dawned on me in the moment, like how important my character was, because the example I set is going to have an effect on the type of man that she allows into her life. So if I'm in and out of prison, in toxic relationships, in the streets, in the gang life, all those things, she's likely going to end up with somebody like that. And I didn't have any control over the time that I was going to do or the time that was being held over my head. But what I did have control over was what I was going to do with that time. And I think that was one of the biggest moments for me where character, first personality came into play. And it was like, time to work on your character, bro, because I've relied on my personality in all these situations to get me through the door, like that interview, to get me through the door in every situation in life that I've been in. And it always ended up terrible. I always ended up alone, or I always ended up hurting somebody that I cared about, like my daughter. And so here was my choice and my chance. And I started, any book that I could get my hands on that had anything to do with self-development, I devoured it. I was hungry for that knowledge, and not just any knowledge, but explicit knowledge. And that's what I did. I found myself in front of the judge after 18 months, after programming and all these things that I really took advantage of, and presented myself as a changed man to the judge. And the judge looked at me really intently, and I told him, "Hey, man, all you can do is give me time because I've done everything that I could do here." And he said, "You're right. And all you've done your whole life is time, and time hasn't served you well, Mr. Lopez. So what I'm going to do is sentence you to prison." And I thought it was over at that time. He said, "However, I'm going to suspend the sentence and I'm going to give you 36 months probation. I'm going to send you to a drug program. You're going to do just as well there as you did here, where I will give you every single day of your sentence." And my life changed in a flash, because somebody that I least expected to see anything in me was willing to give me a chance, was willing to say, "Hey, I believe in you," when you really don't know how to believe in yourself. I went
Yeah.
to Odyssey House after that, brother, and I ran an honest program. My wife, who had been in the streets with me in addiction, she wasn't my wife yet, but she went to the House of Hope program, and she had these cool things called boundaries that I wasn't familiar with, and especially coming from her. And she said, "Look, like, we're not going to engage in any of those things, and if that's what you want to do, then you're going to have to go your own way with that." I ran an honest program, which was hard for me. It's high accountability over there, and I made it through. I became somebody important. I learned that I wanted to be a leader, and I could lead in a healthy way. And I learned that recovery was a pathway for success. My connection with my higher power became stronger through that. And so for me, they go hand in hand. And it's through that process that I became a peer support specialist. And I'm giving you the quick version, because
Yeah.
time frame. I became a peer support specialist. My wife did too. We got a job working at another program, Papillon Integrated Recovery Center. Shout out to Papillon for that opportunity. We were house managers there, got into school, got on the clinical team, and close to getting our first degrees, and going. Then we're going to go into our master's degrees. Um, life changed. I got custody of that little girl that I went to prison and left out on her own with her grandmother. My wife and our boys, we all live in this house together, and it's amazing. We got to team up with some really cool people at Utah Family Therapy. Shout out to Utah Family Therapy to create Level Up IOP, which is what we do now, an intensive outpatient program that's virtual and online, and we're bringing the program to the people. No matter what part of Utah that you're in, we'll meet you there.
Yeah.
No matter what, like your transportation situation is, no matter what your judicial situation is, if you're on probation, parole, drug court, no matter what if you have children that are in the Division of Child and Family Services and you're fighting to get them back, like I get to do updates for people to help to get their kids back today. I get to send updates to parole officers to help people get their freedom back. That's what I'm
What
doing.
what a switch, right? What a switch is like day and night.
And you wouldn't, you probably wouldn't be able to notice that if you was just to meet me for the first time and this is what you saw, you know. But stick around for 2 or 3 weeks till my character comes out, and you'll see. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Well, and I can back it up. I can definitely back it up, buddy. You've definitely got the character. And seriously too, you got the personality,
thank
right?
you.
I mean, that's why I said what I said earlier. You know, we've talked about the accountability and what I have seen since I have been involved with the recovery community here coming up on about the last 4 years. Guys, it's going to be 4 years here in next month since I started this podcast and started getting myself out there and meeting so many amazing individuals like yourself and your wife and so many others out there. How hard was it for you to have that accountability? Because I have had others tell me, man, it was a fight. It was a real fight, to be able to really in some of these programs, people had to get in their face and basically just fricking point their finger right between their eyes and say, you need to start leveling up, right? You need to start
Right.
owning your shit. And I even found it for myself as I was going through my journey to be able to take that accountability because none of us want to show our flaws, right?
Right.
We want to be that strong person and we want others to view us that same way when really in reality, and correct me if I'm wrong or you may have a different version of it, we cannot give to others unless we can correct it ourselves.
Right.
So was accountability difficult for you?
Like, yeah. Initially it was. I just want to say, like, yeah, it's like, how do you teach somebody how to ride a bike if you don't know how to ride the bike?
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, accountability was difficult for me up until that point, up until that car crash, up until I was able to truly recognize I have been the problem in every single one of these situations. The common denominator was me. So it's a me thing. And once I was able to do that, little by little, I started taking more ownership, more ownership, more ownership. And, look, blaming and having a victim mindset, like those are habitual behaviors. Those are habits that you can break. But the only way to break a habit is to replace it with something else. If not, you just have this void there of what was there before. And either the old habit comes back and fills it or something worse does. But little by little, you're applying these healthy behaviors. They become a habit. The accountability becomes a habit. You start to do that second nature after you do it for so long, like that riding a bike. And so I think that's where it is. I started seeing some progress. It wasn't a walk in the park for me by far. It was so much struggle through that, and I still struggle with it today. Just this last week, I felt like I I wasn't my best version of myself. I thought people were taking it. I got into that victim mindset. I allowed myself to feel like a victim, and uh and good thing I have good support around me. I have my wife. I have really dear friend Portia Louder. Shout out to Portia Louder. Every single person on the team at Utah Family Therapy and Level Up, Rob Robinson. Shout out to Rob Robinson. Shout out to his wife Jenny Robinson. Shout out to Tony Roten. Right. Shout out to Brad Tanner. Like these are the people that are saying, "Hey, what's going on with you? Something's different. You okay? Like let's go to lunch. Let's go to lunch and break this down together." And those are the that's the character that I want.
Yeah.
And so I surround myself with people that have that character.
Yeah. And amen to that, because it's crazy when you do surround yourself with people, with individuals like that, they see they see a change in you that you don't see in yourself. I mean, I've had the same thing happen with me, especially with my friend Joe. There's times he calls me, he's like, okay, let's talk. Like, what do you mean, let's talk? He goes, what the hell's going on? What do you mean something's going, what are you talking about? He goes, bullshit. Come on now. Something's happening. Right? Because they can tell. And
Right.
and I've been able to do the same thing with him. And it's friends like that, it's individuals like that that we surround ourselves with that help us continue to build and
Right.
and to grow. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
absolutely. I feel like I truly find that with my friends at TOSA, my friends at the Other Side Academy. I get to go and tap into there probably once or twice a week, on a good week, and hang out. Shout out to Clay, shout out to Dave, um, Tori, Letty, Colin, everybody over there. Shout out to everybody.
Yeah,
They welcome me in like family, and I go there and I get that top notch, that top tier accountability and character. That their character's on point. And if something's off, they're holding each other accountable. And when I go there and something's off, and I'm talking to Clay, and he's like, "What's going on?" And he breaks it down with me.
yeah,
That's friendship. That's like they don't want anything from me, and I don't want anything from them. Just to be around good character, just to have that support. You know,
absolutely.
he broke something down to me, and it was like one day I was struggling with something, and he says, "Let me tell you something. You have a very good cupcake. We all have our own cupcakes. Sometimes we forget, we got this good cupcake right here because we see somebody else's cupcake, and then we don't appreciate our cupcake." And I'm like, "Oh, this he's talking character to me right now." Obviously one of my character defects came out when I was talking about something, and he tapped into that and said, "Hey man, what's going on with your character, bro? It's not on par." And I needed that. And you're like, you know what? I do got a good cupcake. Oh,
Absolutely, damn it. And
my
what we're
cupcake.
and what we're talking about, Clay, too, man. I mean, congratulations to him and his lovely bride, right? They just got married
Yeah,
at Coon.
it's beautiful,
Yes.
beautiful setting, beautiful. Yeah, look, this. Yeah, wish I could have been there.
Yeah, me too. Dave was actually supposed to be on my show last week, and it was the day after I had surgery. And he got a hold of me, and I'm like, no, man, my mom's bringing my computer. I'm going to do it here in the hospital. And he's like, the hell if you are. You worry about your health. We'll reschedule. So I'm looking forward to getting him rescheduled and back on the show after he gets
A good
back.
character. That's that solid character.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Doesn't change
Yeah.
depending on who he's around, or who, or what room he's in, or what situation is going on. It's that's what it is. That's the law of gravity. It doesn't change.
Hmm.
The character doesn't change.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do you fight despair? Because life throws shitballs at us, right? I don't know why I love that term so much, but I just look at it as like a snowball, but it's shit instead of snow. And sometimes we can dodge it, and other times it hits us square in the face. So how, with all the things that you have learned, with all the tools you have, how do you handle despair when you forget to duck and it hits you square in the face?
I think for me is recognizing what adversity is, right? Like those shit balls, maybe, another name for those is adversity. Despair, another name for that is what? Adversity. And the cycle of life is literally we're either in adversity, coming out of adversity, or about to go back into adversity. And it's always been like that, and it's always going to be like that. So you have to recognize where you are at in that cycle. Are you in adversity? Are you in struggle? Are you in despair? Are you getting pegged with those shit balls? Or and if you are, then it's simple. Let's keep it simple. You dig in your boots and you power through. And then you'll come out of that adversity, because adversity isn't permanent. You'll come out of that adversity and recognize if you're in that phase where you're coming out of adversity, or you're out of adversity right now. Appreciate that you're out of it. Appreciate what's going on around you. Be grateful for the people in your life, and everything that's going on. Enjoy that time. Don't start worrying about all the next things, that unknowns, have that anxiety, fear of unknown. Don't start getting into that, you know. But also recognize, when you're about to go back into it, if you're in that phase, okay, I'm going back into it. That is the preparation phase. That is where you start building that emotional strength, that physical strength. It's physical, mental, psychological, and bio. Physical, psycho, social, bio. Psycho, mental, social relationships, biophysical. You toughen them. Read stuff that you're interested in that is going to help you up here. Because if you change the way you think, you change your world. When you change your world, you change the lives of those around you.
Yeah.
Working on your physical. I see you in the gym early in the morning. I love it. 5:30 in the morning, I'm up out the door. I'm down to the gym down the street, getting that workout in. That I'm getting that bilateral stimulation, getting both sides of my brain moving. You know, uh, anything that I'm dealing with or struggling with, I can go in there and leave it on the mat.
Yeah.
And when I leave there, I feel good about myself. It changed something up here.
Yeah.
I feel good about my body. I get home, I'm cleaning, I'm whistling, I'm singing. What's on the agenda for today? I'm ready to tackle today.
If it wasn't for the gym, man, really that was the beginning of my journey, right after losing a 24-year career.
Mm.
I didn't know which direction to go to rebuild a whole new character, a whole new Al Richards.
Right.
I had no clue which direction to go. And even at the time, I didn't even think of self-help books, right? Because I wasn't a big reader. And the only thing I knew was physical fitness. And that's what got it started, you
That's your
know?
champ. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. And then God just started putting the right things right in front of me once I started doing that and started putting certain books in front of me, different people, individuals. And I go back and connect the dots backwards now, like Steve Jobs says, and I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be at this day because of so many other individuals that was a part of my journey. And some I don't even remember their names anymore because it's been so long. It's been almost 17 years. And they were in my life maybe just for a short period of time, but they helped me get to that next dot that I needed to get to, So it again, we go back to surrounding yourself with right individuals. And when you're in that right mindset, um, for both of us, our higher power is God. God starts putting the right things in front of us, and it helps us along our journey. It's like, well, what's that movie? Hunger Games, right? When they're all out there and they're trying to survive, and every once in a while they get a package that's delivered to them to help them kind of move on to the next thing. It's almost like God's doing that for us, and we don't recognize it until we actually go backwards, connect the dots backwards, and go, "Oh my gosh, that's why that happened."
Right.
We don't see it at the time.
Well, I think if you really strengthen your connection with your higher power, um, and you really open that line of communication, like my line of communication with God is throughout the day, constantly in those conversations. And a lot of time it has nothing to do with anything that I'm asking for or maybe something I'm dealing with, but it's just conversation, just
Mhm.
random conversation, things that I'm seeing that I appreciate, things that are going on with somebody else. And I'm asking, what's going on here? Give me strength to recognize something that I'm not able to see on my own, things like that. And it becomes easier to hear those conversations back your way as well. For me, I feel like my higher power speaks through people, um, places, and things.
Yeah. Yeah, I would
And
have to agree with you on that.
I'll just know I'm where I'm supposed to be, you know, even if it's in that adversity phase. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I get it, God. I'm right where you want me to be, going through this drama. Okay. I know there's a purpose. There's always a purpose. So let's go through it.
There's that lesson, right? And I think I already know what your answer will be. However, I'm going to mention this anyway. I've gone through a lot of the same things over and over, and you did too, right? Up until you finally said, "What the heck am I doing? I don't want my life to be this way," right? It's crazy how I continued because I used to hit my knees and pray and go, God, why is this continuously happen to me? What the heck am I missing? What's going on? And it's because I wasn't learning the lesson. And once I figured out the lesson, it's like that issue just was away like that. And then I'm on to my next lesson. Did you find that out yourself? I mean, did you find yourself going through the same routine over and over and over until finally the light bulb went off? You got it. You seen a change, and then you took off in another direction, but yet there's another lesson there for us. Because I really do my version. I feel as though we go through the same things. God will put us through the same crap until we finally figure it out and we finally start taking that first move on our own, and He'll help us get through it. However, we've got to recognize it first.
Right. Well, I think for me, that recovery cliche that we hear a lot is trust the process. I think I kept hearing trust the process. People kept saying trust the process, trust when I was going through some, just trust the process. And I would cuss them out sometimes. And I'd be like, F you and the process. Like, you don't know what I'm going through right now in this moment. You're not the one that's in the process, whatever the heck that may mean, you
Yeah,
know. And I really didn't invest any energy into understanding what that concept meant until, just hearing it so much. Uh, it was kind of like one of those like positive affirmation type of things. Just say it till you believe it. And trust the process became, that's God's plan. When I started seeing these things unfold, that's what trust the process for me means. It's trusting God's plan. I don't need to understand God's plan. My mortal mind isn't divine enough to grasp anything that of that plan. I just know that I'm a part of it some way, somehow. And I just have to understand that if I stay doing what I'm doing, everything's going to work out the way that it's supposed to. You
yeah.
know, it's, I start thinking that I'm smarter than everything and everyone else and start trying to do things on my own, that I end up falling flat on my face. End up hurting those around me.
Yeah. And I laugh at it because I've said many times on the podcast, it's like my ego starts kicking in, right? And I finally tell God, okay, I got the steering wheel now. Thanks for driving for a little bit. I got it. And then before too long, I realize I'm right back into a freaking ditch or a wall,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, all right, I get it. Here, I'll give you the steering wheel again. You're much better at driving than I am.
Right.
Yeah.
I absolutely believe that, brother.
Yeah. So what are your plans here? What do you see yourself in the future? I mean, with what you're doing now, I know Manny Lopez. I know he wants to go out there and help as many people as possible. I believe you have found your why. However, I think we also end up finding more of our why as our journey continues. But where do you see yourself, a year from now?
A year from now, I will have my degree, and be starting into my next one. Um, and I want to experience that college that I didn't get to experience because I was in the University of Hard Knock life. I was in that college of the streets. But I want to experience that. One thing that I've been rewarded with through this journey is time. And time is more valuable than money. And now I get time to be a part of my daughter's, you know, dance and cheer events and things like that. Whereas before, when I first started working in recovery, it was all about that program. It was eat, breathe, sleep, that program, and the population that we were servicing. Um, but now I get both. I grinded it out to a point where I get to help people and my cup is overflowing from that. And I get to be here with my wife. My wife is having our daughter. She's pregnant with our daughter that comes in July. Um, so I get to experience that. I get to experience it healthy and sober in a healthy relationship. So that's so exciting for me. Um, but I get to be of value. I wake up our boys, our teenage boys, to go to school. I'm a value. I'm setting an example. Today's Valentine's Day, and I know this will air later, but today's Valentine's Day, and I get to take one of our boys to the store. She's 15 years old to get flowers for a girl he's dating, you know, and give him some money so that he can take her out. And that's super cool. You know, you can't buy that. You can't buy that connection. You can't buy that experience. You know, you got to put the work in to bring yourself to a healthy point to where you can be that in somebody's life, you know, where you can have those experiences. And that's where I'm at today. I definitely got to pay attention because that old man, he comes out sometimes and he'll jeopardize everything. That old Manny, he's the one, he'll push the button. You know, me and Portia laugh about this because you know, I get in those situations and like, oh me, you know, that big red button looks looks fun sometimes. And but it's not like there's no way I would jeopardize everything that I have right now. No way. You know, lives depend on me. Mouths like there's mouths that I have to feed, you know. And there's lives in the community that, you know, if I'm not on my game, if I'm not the best version of myself and I fall short a lot, but if I don't push myself to be that, there's people in the community that aren't going to be able to come the very best versions of themselves. And so it's not about me. It's so much less about me than I ever thought it was. And it's about others and being of service to others. But man, through that process, it's so rewarding. I've never been filled as much as I have from what I do.
Yeah, and you are so correct. I've heard so many of my guests say that. Matter of fact, we was talking about Clay earlier. I remember Clay being in the
That's play.
studio, and Clay's like, this is my new high, right? Is giving my time to the community. He says like that's my biggest freaking high, and it's a high that I never got from drugs and alcohol and being on the streets. And you could see the excitement in his face, and you could hear it in his voice when he said that. And
Right.
and again, he lives by it, right? He lives
That's,
by it as so many other people do. And I just want to say also congratulations, man, because you know, you broke the chain, brother, right? You broke the chain. You had an opportunity to keep that chain connected to where your kids could have followed that same path that you took. But instead, you woke up, you stepped up, and you cut that son of a bitch. And now it has given really, if you think about it, is has really given your kids that opportunity to go, uh-uh, I want to be like my dad.
right.
Because the version of who you are today, because they could have gone the other way with the chain still connected. I'm going to be like my dad and gone
Absolutely.
that different direction. And now they're learning from you and they're seeing your character and they're seeing what you are doing in the community. They're seeing probably without you even realizing it, maybe you are, they're seeing the lives that you are changing. They're watching you change as well. And I could almost guarantee every single one of your kids look up to you and just think the world of you.
Thank you. You know, I got to experience something really cool with my family yesterday. We went to a jazz game. We ended up getting some tickets from Clean Slate, Utah. Shout out to Clean Slate, Utah and Destiny Garcia, everything they're doing over there with record expungement. But we got to take my whole family and my wife's little nieces and nephews and one of our boys' friends. So we had a bunch. It was 8 of us, and we went there. And also through that whole process, we were able to get tickets for somebody that is in our program, and she was able to take her son, who she just recently got guardianship of, and we got to see that, you know, and take a picture, and it's that feeling right there. No drug is ever gonna match that.
Yeah.
Period. Period. When you see like, wow, like that's what it's like. That's that paying it forward, you know, not expecting anything back because everything that I could ever need, I just got just from that picture, you
Yeah.
know, or getting that call like, hey, I'm at the jazz game too. My son's with me. You know, this is our first unsupervised visit together. I want you to meet him. You know, that's powerful. That's powerful. And my wife will call me a baby sometimes because I get emotional over some of these things, and you know, like I go deep sometimes on some of these topics, and like, look, can you believe how how far we are away from where we were? Can you believe this or that? And but I love it. I love it. Nothing's gonna match it, brother. You know, and
No,
I know you get to experience that as well with what you do and with your podcast and everything, and seeing you out in the community, and yeah, really respect it, man.
thank you. Yeah,
I'm
it's
here.
I ever since I had grandkids, I've turned into a big baby as well. That's
Right.
um I mean, even certain commercials will put tears in my eyes, right? It just depends what that commercial is, and it's because I feel like I have finally opened up my heart, where it was so freaking hardened. I just have finally opened it up, and sometimes it's been a flaw. However, I've figured things out, still figuring things out. But yeah, just to be able to have those moments, family for me was something that was just whatever. I could do with it, I could do without it. And having grandkids completely changed that. And of course, my life altered big time, 16, almost 17 years ago. And it's definitely helped build who I am today, and to watch my grandkids grow and to see how they look at life and how they handle different things, and what an amazing job my daughter and son-in-law have done raising them, and I've learned from them. It's crazy because a lot of people my age being in their 60s, like, I've lived it all, I've seen it all. Well, no, we haven't. There's a lot of things that we lived that we have completely forgot about, and that's just living life, right? Just accepting life how it comes. And that's how these kids are. They really don't have so many worries in life, right? They're just kids. And I really feel that when we can live our life like that, I've done so many coaching things where people have said, just let that little boy come out again, man. Just let that little boy come out. Just enjoy life. And a deep conversation Joe and I had a couple months ago was, and you mentioned it earlier in the show, is our time. You know, my time could be snuffed out right after this show. I don't know. It could be snuffed out tomorrow. I don't know. So what we have this very second is what we have. We can't get that back.
Right.
If I make a mistake, I make a mistake. I can't get that back. However, we can still learn from it, right? And it's just continue to start enjoying life a lot more. I mean, I was one that would constantly stress about money and bills and everything else. And here, I've been off of work for a week because of these procedures I've been having, and I'm going to be off another week. And so many times I just thank God. I mean, seriously, I just thank God for having me in a position right now to where I'm going to still be okay, and have that faith instead of just going back and going, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? How, what's going to happen? Because I don't want to see what the future is, because I don't know what the future is going to be. All I know is what I can do and control is this very moment that I have right now,
Amen.
and a minute from now, right? And some of the stuff I have control over, other stuff I don't have control over. And if I don't have control over it, well, there's somebody that has my back that does. And
Right.
as long as I just keep going in the direction, tell you what, man, since I've done that, life has been so much better. It's just amazing. So much better.
I bet. Yeah. Why weigh yourself down with things that you have no control over?
Yeah, absolutely. So I always like to give guests an opportunity, whether they have a book or they got a new business or something, you know, you and Portia and Tony, and I've not met really anybody else from Level Up IOP. Let our listeners know a little bit more about that and how they can find you.
Yeah, you can look us up at levelupiop.com. Also, we have Level Up IOP on Facebook. That's our Facebook page. Mine and my wife's personal Facebook page is Manny Misty Lopez. I also go by SL Manny Boy, like Sober Life Manny Boy, Salt Lake Manny Boy. On YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok. I do a lot of motivational videos. I try to do one every day. Um, it's very rewarding for me, and I love when people reach out and they're like, hey, that video helped me today. There's that. Yeah, I mean, we're out here in the recovery community for sure. If you're out in the community, you'll see us. We're moving. We're doing our part. We're helping, change the stigma as much as we can. Um, yeah, get a hold of us if there's anything we can do to help. Uh, please feel free to reach out to us. We're here for everybody and anybody.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll back that up, man. I highly, highly recommend our listeners, if you know someone that's struggling or anything right now, reach out to Manny and check out Level Up IOP. It's an amazing thing what you guys are doing. Manny, seriously, it's an honor and a blessing to have you in my life. You
Thank
know,
you, brother. I feel that
uh,
same way too.
very, very grateful that God introduced us because that's pretty much how I look at it, how it worked out. I mean, I can't even think if I even go back to try to remember how we even first met. It just doesn't dawn on me. It just seems like we've been friends for a long time. That's just how it seems to me. Yeah. Yeah. So again, thank you for everything that you're doing out there in our community too. You mentioned it to change the stigma, to help other individuals get through their journey, because we can't do it alone. You know that. There's no way we can do it alone. It takes other individuals as well as a higher power, whatever that higher power is for each individual. It's just whatever that is for them to get them through. And I'm just blessed and honored again to have you in my life and look up to you and appreciate everything that you're doing. And I was I was supposed to be at that Jazz game yesterday too, but my leg situation has kind of put a damper on some things. But today is a day that I am going to try to drive. Hopefully I can get out there and get in a vehicle. So, man, I wish you and your wife an amazing Valentine's, and I'm sure you and I am going to shoot for being at the gym next Monday.
See you
Um,
there then.
yeah, I've been told I got to take it easy. Most of the stuff I got to do, I got to sit down. I can't do anything over 20 pounds, but at least it'll be nice to get back there and get doing
That
something.
get that bilateral stimulation going.
Absolutely, absolutely. Is there anything you'd like to share? Anything else you'd like to share before we sign off?
Just that nothing is impossible. If you got a goal, if you want to do something with yourself, if you have a plan, uh, you can do it. You can do it. Surround yourself with people that are going to support that believe in you, you know, and every one of us over here at Level Up IOP and UL Richards over at the other side of addiction, like we believe in you. We believe in the individual. We believe in the power of connection.
Absolutely. Great advice. Well, again, thank you, Manny. Thank you to all our past guests, our future guests. We've got some really good guests that we've got lined up here for the next month and a half. I'm really excited to have everyone on the show. Thank you to all our past sponsors and our new sponsors, which I still keep waiting for them to give me their information so we can start promoting them. But again, thank you, and especially to all you listeners. You guys are the ones that's making this possible. We're looking at a 4-year anniversary here in the next 3-4 weeks, and I'm just shocked. And the only reason why we've gone this far is because of you guys, just because of you guys. So I greatly appreciate it. So we're going to leave you with this as we do at the end of every flipping show. Remember, addiction is giving up everything for one thing, and recovery is giving up one thing for everything. We're out.